Hi, this is Marcia, and welcome to our spring coaching session. Today we're going to be talking about one-to-one and what that looks like in the classroom. Throughout today, you're going to be using a checklist. So in that checklist, you're going to have a mini lesson, which is right now. You're going to have some independent time where you're going to go in and explore a tech tool. You're going to watch a quick video, and that video will show you how to do the Future Ready activity on a tech tool that you can use in your classrooms. So let's get started. Let's learn about more ways that we can implement one-to-one into our classroom environments. Alright guys, thank you so much for hanging tight with me. I'm excited to have you for our coaching session today. What we're going to do is we are going to first start out by taking a moment to answer a couple questions. So grab a piece of paper. After I pose the questions, hit pause, write down your answers, then hit play. All right, got that paper? Here we go. First question is, what will the classroom look like next school year? We would love to know your thoughts about what the classroom environment will look like. Next, will the students be up and moving inside of your classroom? Next question, will there be flexible seating in your classroom next year? And then the last question we want you to answer is, how will the teachers and yourself be using Schoology? Hit pause, answer those questions. When you're done answering, go ahead and hit start. All right, we're ready to go on to our next set of questions or ideas for that one-to-one classroom. Here's a couple things that I would recommend for your classroom environment. Set up a Genius bar inside of your classroom. What does that mean? That means when the students come in and they're stuck and they don't know how to get to a Schoology link or website, or let's say their laptop's broken or one of their keys aren't working on their keyboard. What you could do is have a student in your classroom help support the other students. I call this a Genius Bar support team or a studio expert for the day. That student could be for 1 week, 2 weeks, or for the whole time that they're in your classroom. Genius bars are a great way to help manage that tech issues that might occur inside your classroom, from charging devices to getting logged in to the computers not working. I suggest trying that out for next school year. Next, let's really talk quickly about Schoology. I want you to think about Schoology for next year. Yeah, our environment might look different, but think of Schoology as the key. The key to your car, the key to your classroom. We need to go to Schoology first before we could go to those other learning environments. So think of Schoology as that necessary tool that will provide the students with digital links. It will give them studio directions and even links to independent practice. I really think of Schoology as a way to really communicate with the students when I'm in school or out of school, or for e-learning days, or if there's a disaster that might happen, we have the ability now to continue to use that learning through Schoology. So please make sure you add Schoology as part of your classroom environment for next year as well. All right, let's take a look into that one-to-one classroom and that one-to-one environment and what that will look like. A while back, I showcased the 55-35-10 rule. Do you remember that? What we talked about was 55% of the classroom time should be without technology. 35% should be with technology in the classroom. And then 10% should be flex tech. So when we look at the way we design our lesson, we should be really focusing on how we use the technology in our classroom. Is it meaningful? Is there a way that I could take that online material and put it in the hands of the students, maybe through an activity sheet? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to break it down for you just to give you some more examples. Let's start out with without technology. What does a classroom design look like without 55% without technology in the classroom? Well, what that means is I'm going to use the resources in my room to allow students to talk, to collaborate, to communicate, to use those different games. Without technology also includes the hover camera. Even though this is technology, we are using it for demonstrations. The students can be using it to showcase their work. It is more of like a presentation tool. The panel, your interactive panel, think of that as definitely not technology. You're going to have that as demonstrations. You're going to have it as your notes, your presentations that you might be doing up on the panel. And currently right now with Zoom, That is not technology if you're talking and collaborating with the student. We want to use that as just a way for them to understand and get that material. Other examples of without technology: labs, gallery walks. Oh, I love gallery walks. Collaboration activities, those future ready activities that we always talk about, small group instruction, printed activities, anything that's going to get that momentum in the hands and collaboration and kinesthetic learning. That's what we're looking for without technology. Okay, let's go to our next one. Our next one that we're going to take a look at is with technology. What are some of those resources that we will use that will help the students learn the content through technology? So any of these tools that I'm going to mention are considered tech tools. Kami, ClassKick, those are tech tools. Even though it's a worksheet, Kami's a worksheet online, they are going online to perform and complete that task. So therefore, it's technology. Edpuzzle, PhET, that is technology. GimKit, quizzes, Flippity, that's technology. So if you have one of those, that would consider part of your 35% guide. Newsela, Nearpod, Google Docs, those are all tech tools, as well as Flipgrid. And you guessed it, Schoology. Those are considered tech tools. So while you're planning out your lesson, if you use one of those tech tools, then that would be considered part of your 35% tech plan. All right, let's go to Flex Tech. When we talk about Flex Tech, we're talking about when those students come into your classroom, how are they acting that day? Are they ready to discuss and have an open conversation? Or would that discussion be better if it was on a chat? So the discussions could definitely be either in person, live, or the kids could be typing. Entrance tickets. Sometimes I love having the students fill out an entrance ticket on a Post-it note, and then they leave it on their desk. But then sometimes I know that it's just better to have that Google form collect that data real quick. So that Flex Tech is up to me to decide, how do I want to actually perform that task? But I only have 10% for Flex Tech, so I really need to use that wisely. So entrance ticket, exit tickets, or discussion questions could be a great way to implement that Flex. So next I want to talk about what I witnessed last week when I was invited to go visit a school in Texas. It was not a Sci-Fair school, it was a different school district, and I was able to follow around a 7th grade team of students from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And so this is my raw data. What I saw with that same group of students as they traveled to math, science, social studies, language arts, physical education, the lunchroom. So I kept track of how much screen time they had within that one given day. So when I walked into the classrooms, I kept monitoring, okay, start of class, end of class, how much tech? The students came into the classroom, the teacher said, okay guys, today we're going to be doing open up your Chromebooks, and off they went. The social studies, they did a couple of turn and talks, parent shares. They had a couple of things that the kids were doing together, but 85% of their time was on a screen. The art classroom. When the students went to art, of course the teacher had them going into Schoology. She had them go in, check their assignments, do a quick little assessment, and then the rest of it, you guessed it, they were doing art. ELAR was 100% on a screen. They were on the screens the whole time. Lunch, 90%. It wasn't their Chromebooks that they were looking at, but rather their phones. They were going in and they were looking at their phones, checking their feeds, seeing what was going on during lunch. Math, 100% of their time was on a computer. Now, it was really interesting, this math classroom, because the students were joining the Zoom session with the teacher in the classroom. So there'd be a student in the classroom joining the Zoom, taking notes. So the students had their backs towards the teacher. They weren't even looking at the teacher. It was kind of a mixed feeling. I kind of liked it, but I didn't like it because I'm like, well, where's that eye contact? Where's building those relationships? But it was 100% in math classroom on a computer. Physical education, 15%. They went in, they did a quick exit ticket, checked the Schoology for any links, and then of course they were up and moving. Study hall, 100% was on a device. So this group of middle schoolers had 315 possible minutes of education that day. You ready for this? 279 minutes were on a screen. Wow. That's 89% of their day was looking at a screen. Now, if we roll out this 55-35-10 rule, what would that look like? So if we roll it out, we're going to see the decrease in the number of minutes because the percentages are going to drop. If we use this 55-35-10 rule by planning out a lesson, and I did that day I broke apart every single lesson, recreated it with this 55-35-10 rule, and I came up with this idea. So 40% would have been in science, 35% in social studies, still the same for art, and still the same for physical education. Lunch and study hall are the big killers here in this one because they're still going to use their devices during lunch and they're still going to use their devices during study hall. So with the same number of minutes after I redesigned their lesson plans, we still had 315 minutes, but now they're only on a screen for 175 minutes of their day. You guys, that drops it down to 55%. This 55-35-10 rule is just a guide. It's a way to think about your lessons, reconstructing your lessons. When should I use technology? When should I not use technology? So when we look at the whole big picture and we put it all together, we can really see that the way we use technology can vary. Instead of maybe using Kami, maybe that day I use a paper copy. Or if I want them to be talking and collaborating, maybe I'm going to use Flipgrid, and maybe I'm going to be using NoTech in other areas of my lesson plan. If you like this idea and want help and support with it, please reach out to me. I'd be more than willing to go through and help you plan out a lesson to help meet the 55-35-10 rule. All right, guys, thanks for hanging tight with me. Good luck. You got this.